Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news deadline. Caught up with Burt Kreischer, who's talking about his 2023, and he says, for lack of better analogies, it's felt like a runaway train that I've just been holding on to. He compares it to a skier who gets going too fast and just prays he won't fall. Been there, done that. I'll tell you a story some other time about me crashing through not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fences maybe. Bert has a certain level of fear. I remember Ali Wong telling me it doesn't go away, and I looked at her and I was like, it 100% does. Goes away for everyone, and I'm hyper aware of just how fortunate I am, so I wasn't going to let go. I held onto this bull and was like, I'm going to ride this as long as it lets me ride, and I'm going to go as hard as I effing can. I'm never going to say no. I'm going to push it. The profile points out Bert is aware of the place he occupies in the world of comedy. He says, I'm no John Mulaney, and I'm no Chris Rock. He knows that his signature style of performing shirtless makes it challenging for some people to take him seriously. Before his special The Machine premiered on Showtime in 26, he was warned that doing the show shirtless would lose him viewers, and that special, which is now kind of famous, wound up being the lowest rated Showtime had ever put out. He credits Joe Rogan for encouraging him to get into podcasting. Bert says back when he was doing things like Trip Flip for the Travel Channel, it required him to travel all over the world doing stuff he didn't want to do, like swimming with great white sharks, and he made maybe $3,500 an episode. But when he began podcasting, he realized after his first 1-hour episode, he had made $7,500 while just sitting around telling stories with friends. He had no overhead, and he began putting episodes together himself and didn't need to travel. And best of all, there'd be no cut of his fee going to agents, managers, and lawyers. Bert said, at that moment, I went, I will never do television again. This is what I want to do. The Guardian went to see Trevor Noah's show, and they say most of the show reports back on countries and cultures Trevor Noah has encountered while touring, leaving you wondering, what did he talk about on the opening shows of the tour? It's quite the feat to turn these experiences into so much material so soon, but a lot of it rehashes stereotypes, the rude Parisian, the angry Glaswegian, the Londoner resisting eye contact on the tube. That we don't have real crime in the UK is an observation US-based comics have been making since at least Bill Hicks' hooligan routine. It's as if Noah, whose technical brilliance isn't in question, has challenged himself to see if he's good enough to reanimate some of comedy's hoariest conceits. He is, the Guardian adds. He usually finds an angle on the familiar that jolts it back into the funny, but after 2 hours I wanted something fresher, an insight, say, into the Trevor Noah behind the smooth stand-up operator, this detached observer of global mores. Noah is so slick at all this, so supremely at ease on stage that it can feel like coasting, like a holiday for a man who has spent 7 hard years at satire's coalface. You can't deny he's earned it, nor that it's fun to come along for the ride. Up Rocks asked Ronnie Ching why he called his tour Love to Hate It. Ronnie said, I just wanted something cool that was a little bit funny. I'm sure you know it's hard to think of titles for things, so I was brainstorming for a few weeks. It's almost like part of me is like, why am I caring so much about something that doesn't really matter? It doesn't need to describe anything. It actually ended up being a good title because it actually does describe where I'm at. Sometimes you complain professionally as a stand-up comedian. In other words, you love to hate it. As a comic, we complain about stuff, but we do it because we love doing comedy. Ronnie said, I love traveling around America and seeing towns and cities that people crap on. I go there and I'm like, oh, this is great. Everyone's always been really nice to me on the tour. The fans have been nice to me for the most part. That's funny about the most part. I wonder what the other part is. So I get to meet a lot of people. I mean, obviously different ethnicities, but different political backgrounds as well. They've always been cool. I like to think I've shown mutual respect back. That's why I say in the show, I talk a little bit about how face-to-face, everyone in America seems fine. Just when you go on the internet, it seems like we're always on the borderline of civil war. But face-to-face, there's a lot of decency in America. There are more good people than bad people here. Just for Laughs Vancouver announced their performers for the 2024 edition of the annual festival, February 15th through the 24th in Vancouver. If you've never been, Vancouver is an awesome city. There's an episode of my Travel is Back podcast where I talk about Vancouver. There's a bike shop, at least there was 10 years ago across from Stanley Park, that I loved. I wanted to buy it and just make that my life, where I just rented bikes and hung out in that park. Vancouver's awesome. So if you want to go to JFL Vancouver, February 15th through the 24th, the performers include Bill Burr, right? We're off to a great start already. Ronnie Ching, Wanda Sykes, Ben Schwartz, Marlon Wayans, Bassem Youssef, Kathy Griffin, Nicole Byer, Bob the Drag Queen, Christina Pazitsky, Tom Papa, Jessica Curson, Patty Harrison. Some names you might not know, and I don't want to read 50 names here. Some you might know. Big J. Okerson, Chris Redd, Zorna Garg, Aparna Nancherla, Joel Kim Booster, Caroline Ray. Mo Gilligan is a fantastic comic, probably off your radar. Chris Gethard, Emma Willman, Jesus Trejo, Mark Little, Josh Johnson, and a bunch of others. Tickets are on sale Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific. JFL Vancouver website for more information. David Cross has announced a podcast, Senses Working Overtime with David Cross. It'll debut December 7th. David shared a trailer. Here's a clip.
You don't need the headphones.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, you can have them if you're cold. Are you cold?
But I can hear you if I don't have them on.
Hi, this is David Cross, and I have a new podcast on HeadGum called Senses Working Overtime. Initially, the premise was getting a bunch of friends and family members, Bob Odenkirk, Jason Bateman, Negin Farsad, Steve-O, Mark Maron, Janine Garofalo, Amber Tamlin, lots and lots of really cool, funny, interesting people. I'm not trying to be funny or anything. I don't understand you.
Okay.
I don't understand. And talking to them about questions relating to the five senses.
So the idea for the podcast was David Cross would ask his guests to explore their best, worst, funniest, saddest, most beautiful, etc. things they'd ever seen, touched, tasted, smelled, and heard. Somewhere along the way, it became a loose premise, a jumping off point to learn more about a variety of fascinating people. Some of those fascinating people include Bob Odenkirk, who you heard on the trailer, Mark Maron, Janine Garofalo, John Hodgman, Joe Firestone, Eugene Merman, Steve-O, Amber Tamlin, and Jason Bateman. Cross in a statement said, I kind of went into this a bit reluctantly, thinking, who's going to want to listen to or watch another podcast? But I'm really enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun with a lot of laughs with some great old friends and some good new ones. I hope I can make your car, bus, subway, plane, train ride more tolerable. Russell Peters will have a new special at some point. A production company put out a press release saying they have acquired the special that Russell taped in Abu Dhabi on November 23rd. In the special, it covers issues such as cancel culture, aging, and the current geopolitical state of the world, and includes Russell Peters' signature crowd work. Sebastian Maniscalco's new show Bookie is out today on Max. RogerEbert.com gave it a very unenthusiastic review. They wrote, Maniscalco pushes his way through some awful writing in the premiere of Bookie, a half hour of television that can be downright archaic in its sense of humor when it's not just lazy. For example, one of Danny's clients cross-dresses as a way to hide from him, leading to some trashy trans jabs because, of course it does. As for making jokes about something as addictive as gambling, that's fine if they're clever, but everything here is cheap and uninspired. It's a laugh track, a reduction in profanity, and a studio audience away from being your standard network sitcom. RogerEbert.com continues and says, I don't think most of the failures of the premiere fall at the feet of Maniscalco, an entertaining stand-up who hasn't quite figured out how to carry himself on screen as a fictional character. He always looks uncomfortable when he's not playing himself, but most people would with the writing in this series premiere, a show that I might have once suggested was beneath the HBO brand, but well, we all know what happened to that part of the Max agenda. Ouch, ouch, ouch. The New York Times profiled Sebastian, this one a little better. They asked him about things he likes. All right, Sebastian, what are the things you like? One of them, farmers markets. Sebastian says it's not necessarily shopping for fresh ingredients, but for me now with kids, to watch them walk around the farmers market and get excited about seeing that they're making caramel corn, or you could just feed the goat or the rabbits, or there's a whole pistachio stand. It's a family tradition that we do on Sundays when I'm in town. Sebastian also likes his wife's art. My wife is unbelievably positive and cheerful, and her art reflects her personality. It's abstract, it's colorful, it's happy. I wasn't a big art guy prior to meeting my wife, but I have a different appreciation now about what goes into creating a piece of art. We have this huge piece in the living room that she just put up, and it's different shades of green. It reminds me of her every time I see it. They also enjoy their whirly pop movie nights. We love making popcorn, and my wife turned me onto this machine, which has this crank on the side that stirs the kernels, just canola oil and salt. That's all you need. We sit and we watch movies, and now that the kids are getting older, they're starting to get into movies I grew up with, like The Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka. My daughter is into doing all the songs from Grease. MySanAntonio.com took us to Gossip Corner, apparently. Fresh off his sold-out shows in San Antonio, Ralph Barbosa was spotted at Midnight Swim, which is a St. Mary's Strip bar. So you got to be careful here, because you might assume that it's a strip bar in St. Mary's. No, the location is called the St. Mary's Strip, but the sentence says the St. Mary's Strip bar posted snaps. And the first time I was like, ooh, much Gossip Corner. But no. It's just an area called the St. Mary's Strip, in which there's a bar named a Midnight Swim. Got it? I'm sure you do. The bar posted snaps from their celebrity guest on Instagram. In the photos, we see Ralph Barbosa happily posing for the camera solo, as well as a shot of him taking photos with fans under Midnight Swim's Wish You Were Here archway. My San Antonio went full Gossip Corner. They said it's not known if he grabbed a Midnight Swim specialty cocktail, but he was seen clutching a Modelo. Modelo right now is the #1 beer in America. I've been a fan for years. It's really caught on. Ralph shared some photos on his own Insta. He reshared one fan story of him up on stage at the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club. But MySanAntonio.com tells us Barbosa's Instagram post from November 26th is a bit more mysterious. Are you curious? It's clear that the photo was taken during the comic's venture to the St. Mary's Strip. Barbosa seen wearing the same white shirt, gold necklace, and white Louis Vuitton monogram bucket hat that he was wearing at Midnight Swim. The question is, did he make any other stops on the Strip before heading up to Austin for the next stop on his tour? After all, they point out, there's great food stops near Midnight Swim, like Worst Behavior, that's with a U, so I assume that's some sort of sausage purveyor. You know I'm about to Google it, right? Yes. Tycoon Flats, Burger Boy, and more. I haven't gone on a food diversion in a while, have I? No. Let's see, what is it? Worst Behavior. Sausages, classic burgers, and delectable snacks, all expertly crafted and responsibly sourced. Their website says Worst Behavior is San Antonio's first Asian-inspired beer garden concept based upon great beer, great food, and great energy. With its Neo-Tokyo aesthetic and its Zen garden sensibilities, you're going to want to stay on your Worst Behavior. Looks pretty cool. Rob Reiner talked to Variety about the sequel to This Is Spinal Tap. In the new version, Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Garth Brooks will appear. The Spinal Tap's Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer return. So does Rob Reiner as the documentarian Marty. The sequel is set to mimic the style of Martin Scorsese's The Last Waltz. Reiner said the key to making a movie with a loose script is that you get people who are good at improvising. You have to get people who feel comfortable doing that. Then you're off to the races. Reiner added, you don't want to overstay your welcome. It's like stand-up. You leave them wanting. You get off on a big laugh and go out. The worst thing you could do is just load it up with, even if they're funny things, they may be tangents and things that take away from the drive of the film. Kim Kardashian will star in a comedy for Netflix. That's weird. It's called The Fifth Wheel. We don't know too much about it other than Kardashian will play the fifth wheel alongside a female ensemble cast. No cast announced, no name announced, no date announced. By the way, if you like the Kardashians, there's a podcast called Card Talk, K-A-R-D Talk. They'll keep you posted on the Kardashians. Gizmodo caught up with Dan Harmon about the Rick and Morty recasting of the voices. I've gotten used to it. Don't worry about it. I still don't think Rick stutters enough and the Morty's a little off. But as Dan Harmon said, I think the silent majority and the healthy majority are like, okay, this is as good as you can manage. The characters are still alive. That was a goal from the outset. Fans of the show consider them fans of the characters, and they just want to continue to watch the show and feel that these characters are still alive, and it seems we were successful. In that mission, I think there's an air of religious zealotry to the people who are insisting that the voices are somehow unignorably, catastrophically different. I think most people are saying, all right, it sounds like Rick and it sounds like Morty. Let's proceed. And let me catch you up on this thing Joe Lycette did. He had announced a podcast, and it got a lot of pickup from the press release on podnews.net. Joe Lycette has a brand new podcast, and it's a load of S-word, Turdcast. The description. Joe has always been fascinated by the great leveler that is going to the toilet from King Charles to Gary Barlow. We all need to jump to do a dump, flee to do a wee, or grit to do an S-word. Literally, no one is too hot to squat. You get the idea. Gary Lineker joins Joe for the very first episode of Turdcast, where he discusses the now legendary moment where he relieved himself on the pitch in England's opening game of the 1990 World Cup in front of hundreds of millions of people. So you get the idea. I didn't cover it because I don't like to play on that side of the street. Oh, but wait, there's a twist. Joe has revealed that the launch event for his new podcast, which ended with sewage leaking into Liverpool's Albert Dock, was a stunt to highlight the issue of water companies dumping waste into Britain's waterways. Well played. Lycette had set up a pop-up toilet, a.k.a. the Turdis, inviting fans to come down and share their most embarrassing loo-based stories for his new Turdcast podcast. Joe said, what I like to do is do big stunts that get people talking about the big issues, and sometimes those stunts go to plan, and sometimes they don't. Well, on this occasion, everything went exactly to plan. Of course I didn't spill raw sewage into the Royal Albert Dock. Who do you think I am, GB News? No, it was fake sewage from a fake toilet to promote the fake podcast. Turdcast was never real, although we did record one with the real Gary Lineker, and it would have been better to use a fake Gary, as we would have saved a lot of money. So why did I spill fake sewage, other than because I'm desperate for attention and Instagram likes? Well, I spilled fake sewage to get people talking about the real sewage, which is being spilled every year in the billions of liters by our water companies. Last year, according to one analysis, 1.4 billion pounds in dividends was paid out to shareholders of the water companies. It's a lot of money that could be used to improve the sewage network and reduce spills. If you agree, you can go on a website and send an email to your water company asking them to sign up for what we're calling Joe's Poo Promise. That's your comedy news for today. If you like the show, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. And you can follow this podcast for free. Well, you already figured out how to find it. So hit the follow button. You're already here. Hit that follow button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, top right, hit that plus. Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Cast, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.